My name is Brad Wolf. I am a member of the Merchants of Death War Crimes Tribunal, and today is November 6th, 2022. We have before us Dr. Cornel West to provide testimony to the Merchants of Death War Crimes Tribunal. Welcome, Dr. West.
I think that militarism is a cancer that has domestic and international dimensions. When you militarize a situation, it's all force, it's all brute force. Persuasion drops out, and it brings out the worst in human beings, the worst in who we are as a species. And the worst for me is always understood in terms of what Howard Thurman called the hounds of hell. I think it's a form of spiritual decay. It's a form of moral decrepitude. And we have to bring a spiritual and moral, not just a critique, but a witness. We have to intervene. We have to do something about it. That's part of the great legacy of Dorothy Day and Rabbi Heschel and Martin Luther King Jr., that they recognized that this was a cancer. Militarism is a cancer, and it can't be simply talked about. You actually have to attempt to do something about it. And in the end, you have to put your body on the line in terms of the nature of the intervention. We thank God for our atheistic brother Bertrand Russell in 1966, who had a vision. I think Jean-Paul Sartre may have been part of that group as well, who had a vision that said we've got to intervene, have a tribunal, and do something about this escalating militarism that's going hand in hand with the free market fundamentalism, so that you can make big profits, big money on war. War actually is very big business, and it's good business for the war profiteers. It's the worst business with the ugly effects for those who are victimized by war. Those who are victimized by war, not simply those who are the recipients of the vicious bombs and drones, but it's also those who live in all of the various societies whose economies are dominated by permanent war, or by forever war, which means there's never enough resources for education, decent housing, for jobs with a living wage. For those items, it's always a matter of austerity. We don't have enough money. But when it comes to the permanent wars, of course, it's just boundless money that's available. So that there's a kind of victimization that occurs both for those who are recipient of the bombs, but also those whose needs are being displaced by the profits accrued from the war industry. Our choice between nonviolence and non-existence. So very, very real life and death choice, collective choice of people, of a species. The American empire and the corporations, especially the corporations in the American empire that are profit-driven, have to take responsibility. They have to have some accountability, and there needs to be some answerability to the American people, let alone the world. And as long as we have a semblance of a democratic process, we've got to raise our voices and say, we render you corporations obsessed with war profiteering accountable, answerable, and we want you to be responsible. The same way those corporations tell us, and especially working class and poor people, if you commit an act that's wrong and illegal, then you are accountable. Because they're very big on personal responsibility when it comes to individuals in society, especially poor and working class individuals. But when it comes to their own responsibility, you can hardly hear a mumbling word. It's cricket-like, it's silent. You can't find who's really going to take the blame. You can't find who's really blameworthy. It's very interesting. Wall Street, the same way during the crisis, 2008 and 2010. You couldn't find one person on Wall Street who took responsibility for all the vicious crimes of insider trading, market manipulation, fraudulent activity, and predatory lending. You couldn't find one person to take responsibility. And yet they just sheer millions and millions and millions of dollars made and went to somebody. Somebody took the money, but they couldn't take responsibility when it comes to those kind of crimes. Well, I think it's very important to make similar kind of claims in regard to war profiteering of corporations in these times, at these moments, right now. And I'm so very glad to see the tribunal stepping forward to do it. Well, I just salute the courageous and visionary work of the tribunal, that they are my brothers and sisters of all colors and all different religious traditions and secular traditions that accent the best of what it means to be human, which always takes the form of being willing to be of service to those who are suffering. And as James Baldwin used to say, if we can't run out the money changers out of the temple, at least we can show the people what they're doing in there. What those bombs and drones and forms of greed are doing to those made in the image of God, and especially those who are the least of these in the biblical sense, the poor, working classes.